At the last Bible study, we were discussing like the miracles that happened before Jesus died, when he was arrested, and when he was on the cross, and when the ground shook, and then the curtain tore in two, and then it says about tombs were ripped apart. Right, so you get the tombs that if you had a few quid, you'd have them, in the cave where it was dug out, and you'd roll a big old stone across, like where Jesus, which we'll come on to in a minute. But a lot of the time, as we know, people were placed in the ground, but the ground shook so much that the tombs opened. And I've always been, I said to these guys, I'm absolutely gobsmacked at the fact of, like, it says the tombs are opened, and when Jesus was resurrected, so were saints. So brothers and sisters who had been following Jesus were resurrected as well. But so he said the tombs were open, but when he got up, he wasn't the only one who got up. And it said, and they got out the graves and they went into the towns, and they would have had all their linen cloths on, which is their burial shrouds. And we see in the book of Mark, I don't know if was you there? You wasn't there, I don't think that's. Paul, you was there when we talked about the naked boy with the linen cloth.
Yeah.
In Mark. And we said that the moment when Jesus was arrested, no, they turned up to arrest him, and then they said, are you Jesus the Nazarene? And he said, I am. And the ground shook, and all the soldiers, everyone fell to the floor. Mark's the only one who says about this boy who's continuously following Jesus, and it says he's in a linen cloth. But because of certain translations in NLT, it says he was wearing a linen shirt. So I was just thinking he's just one of the disciples, not the main 12, but a follower. He had so many that then the guards have caught him because he's following Jesus, like I said, continuously following him. Then they grabbed him, the guards, and then what happened was, I'm thinking he's got out of his linen shirt like that, got no clothes on underneath, because it said he's run off naked. But when we looked into the depths of it, Nance, it's the same linen, which is the linen shrouds, the same linen they use for burial. So that boy was resurrected out the ground, right? Yeah, when the earth shook. So, and I said another miracle took place then. Peter got his sword out and he sliced off that young man's ear, and Jesus healed the young man, and then you've got this young boy who has been resurrected. And so can you imagine, I was just thinking about how recently I went to my friend's auntie's funeral, and the fact of then, if I suddenly see Christine walking around after we've buried her, right? I remember that as well. They would have, like, I said they ceremoniously cleaned the bodies, they anointed them with all the spices, and they did do, get them in the ground pretty quick as well. It's a hot country. And they would have the whole procession of carrying them through the town or wherever they were going to bury them, wailing, like there was so much going on. So I can't imagine what it was like that they've climbed out the graves, we've done our mourning and weeping, and then suddenly they come and knock on the door. And then we was discussing, did they meet with Jesus after, when he was resurrected at the same time, when Jesus was appearing to, I think it says in the end, about 500 people, seeing before he ascended. So I don't know. But I said it was just such a fascinating scripture to me. And I was like, Matthew's the only one who's mentioned this. And to me, it's like a massive deal. So that is what we was discussing. But I'm now going to continue. So from that moment, so Jesus has just died. And I'm going to have a sip of my tea, because I probably won't get to drink it now. Right, so, because there is, another hidden gem, which has just blown us away. And I haven't had time to really go over it. how I'd like to, because there's so much to it. There's so much to take, but I'll send you the little videos after.
I'll remember some of it.
You
as well,
will. That's
so.
what I thought.
We was watching it how the videos that you put on. We was watching
It's
it.
so good.
And
aren't
she
they?
didn't even have the bed.
About the silver cord.
Oh, come
my
on.
goodness.
Listen, well, yes,
That was
right?
Oh, no.
so
I've got so many good
Amazing.
ones. I'll carry on sharing
Yeah,
them.
please.
Amazing.
The fact that this shit is incredible.
Amazing.
I was
Honestly.
just like, you can never guess what? Like, this is what happens. It's like,
So-
It
cool.
is so
Yeah.
amazing.
Remind me at the end. I'll tell you a bit more about
yeah,
that.
please.
So we've got. So I'm going to read. I'm going to do bits of Matthew and I'm going to do bits of John. So I'm now in Matthew 27, 57. So now Jesus has just died, right? So when it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was also a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus so that he might bury him. And Pilate ordered that if it be given to him, ordered that it be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, which is a burial wrapping, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had cut in the rock, and he rolled a large stone over the entrance of the tomb and went away. Now also it says in my little notes, it said, a rich man from Arimathea. Joseph's actions fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. His grave was assigned with the wicked, but he was with a rich man in his death. So and that was Isaiah 53:9. So that was a prophecy which was fulfilled in that moment. So then when we go over to, I'm going to go to John. We also find out as well that Joseph, he wasn't any old rich man. He was part of the Sanhedrin, a high court Jewish judge and official. And he was really, really brave to go to Pilate and ask for his body as well, because now he's saying, well, I'm a disciple of Jesus.
Yeah, he knows part of this stuff.
Yeah. And so many people, they said, were scared to actually come. First of all, they said, because they preferred the praise of man, so you have, they loved that they looked good in their robes and they were highly favoured. And or they didn't want to be chucked out of the temple, right? Yeah, the synagogue. So he was like a very well-to-do rich man, and he was really stepping out. So in Luke it says, a man named Joseph, who was a member of the council, the Sanhedrin, the Jewish high court, a good and honourable man. He had not consented to the council's plan and action. A man from Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who was waiting for and expecting the kingdom of God. This man went to Pilate and asked him for the body. And after receiving permission, he took it down and wrapped it in a linen burial cloth and laid him in the tomb. So Luke's saying the same thing. And what they would have done, there was another bit of the cloth, and they somehow hooked it around Jesus after they would have tried to take the nails out, and then they would have used it, I think, as is it a pulley, what they call it? When you kind of lowering someone like that, they lowered him down with this bit of sheet. There's another bit of shit. There's a few different items of wrappings that we've come across. Right, where's John?
So they used a cloth to lower Jesus down.
Yeah. So they had a cloth to lower him down, and then they had, which we're going to get onto this, but this is really quite amazing. So, in John now, I'm on to John, and I'm in 1931. So since it was the day of preparation for the Sabbath, and the day of preparation is the day before the Sabbath, that's I was going to say James rummaging down my bins, it's in the recycling. So the day of preparation, no one worked, but they was allowed to prepare for the Sabbath. So it was a big day and a big preparation day.
Yeah.
And this is the day when, oh, he's all right. This is the day when, also, when there was everyone dying on the cross, the Jews would go to the Roman soldiers, look, can you now quicken the death, break their legs, because when they was on the cross, then the legs, we were talking about last week, wasn't we? They would push up still to breathe. And then once they couldn't move the legs, it was then suffocation would happen a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And plus, it was cramping their style, having all the dead bodies about, or people dying. They wanted them down off for the Sabbath, so they was all out of the way and, removed and, it all looking nice for the Sabbath. So, anyway, right, so now we're on,
Yes, but off-putting.
Ted rustling about. Right, okay. So since it was the day of preparation for the Sabbath, in order to prevent the bodies from hanging on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high holy day, the Jews asked Pilate to have their legs broken to hasten death and the bodies taken away. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first man and the other who had been crucified with him. And when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately the blood and water came out flowing. And remember we said that meant he was dead because his water and blood separated. If it had just been blood, he would have still been alive. And he, John, the eyewitness, who has seen it, has testified, and his testimony is true, and he knows that he is telling the truth, so that you also who read this may believe. It always makes me laugh when John says things like that, or it makes me laugh when he says, and the one who Jesus loved, and he's talking about himself when he writes it, when he's writing it, and it just makes me laugh. So, for these things took place to fulfill the scripture, not a bone of his body shall be broken. And again, another scripture says, they shall look at him whom they have pierced. And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, asked Pilate to let him take the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission. So he came and took away his body. Nicodemus, who was the first to come to him at night, also came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, weighing about 100 pounds. So do you guys remember or have read about Nicodemus, who was the priest, and he was a Pharisee, and he met Jesus in the night, didn't he? And Jesus was teaching him about the kingdom of God, and they had this discussion of he said, well, how am I going to get in my mum's womb again?
About being
You
born
can't
again.
really, and then Jesus was saying, no, it's true, you have to be born again. So they had this chat about it all.
He spoke to him about the wind and everything else.
Yeah. And so Nicodemus obviously become a follower of Christ
Come
as well.
secretly, didn't he? So that the
Yeah.
rest of the Pharisees and Sadducees
Wouldn't
wouldn't know about it. you know,
Yeah.
so
He
he-
never went with them but left them money.
Yeah, and he was big time. I mean, they were calling him
Yeah.
a teacher of teachers, so he was like up there in the Pharisees.
Yeah. And so, and I love that him and Joseph are now they're taking his body down, and they're planning on, they're taking him now to Joseph's tomb. Like I said, this was a really expensive tomb, and obviously it's fulfilled the scripture of a rich man's tomb as well. Yeah, he was had a right few quid, old
and it was
Joseph.
a fresh tomb as well, wasn't it?
Fresh tomb, all cut out, so it was there ready for Jesus, which I just think is so beautiful. So they took Jesus' body and bound it in linen wrappings with the fragrant spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews. Now there was a garden at the place where he was crucified, and in the garden a new tomb was cut out of solid rock, in which no one had yet been laid. Therefore, because of the Jewish day of preparation, and since the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there. Now, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw the stone removed from the entrance of the tomb had already been moved. And also what I loved I'm not quite sure which one it was, but the ladies followed their every move. Marvin, will you let Ted in?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He's crying at the door, I think, now to come back
That'll teach
in. Right, can you come in? Right. Right, so the ladies, like and John, they was there every moment watching. Like they didn't run away, they wasn't scared. And then when Joseph and Nicodemus, come here, Ted. They followed him to see exactly where Jesus was laid, and so that they knew. And then in one of the descriptions, I think they said they watched him like intently to where Jesus was. And I know that they had the plan, like they were going to go there, wasn't they, to anoint his body the next morning. So anyway, Mary's first on the scene with the ladies, with the girls, and it says she's now got there. Now remember, Jesus, this massive stone, they've rolled this stone across. And because I know in one of the translations as well, they was already considering, like, how are we going to get this stone rolled? Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So Mary runs back to the guys. It says, so she ran and went to Simon Peter and to the other disciple, whom Jesus loved, and said to them, they have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have laid him. So Peter and the other disciple left, and they were going to the tomb. And the two were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and arrived at the tomb first. Stooping down and looking in, he see the linen wrappings neatly lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came up following him and went into the tomb and saw the linen wrappings neatly lying there, and the burial face cloth which had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the other linen wrappings, but rolled up into a place by itself. So the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, went in too, and he saw the wrappings and the face cloth, and believed without any doubt that Jesus had risen from the dead. For as yet they did not understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. When the disciples went back again to their own homes, Mary, who had returned, was standing outside the tomb sobbing, and so as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb. But I've read too far because I want to go back to John and Peter. They've gone home now, but they have seen the linen wrappings neatly wrapped up, folded. Now I recently found out as well, when someone would leave their clothes, anything neatly folded, that was a sign to say that they were coming back.
Oh, of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
I know, right? And Jesus would have, wouldn't have left them all hanging out. Well, an angel could have even folded them up. You know, I'm sure he was very tidy and kept everything nice. Right, so now, when they would have taken him off of the cross as well, if someone's face was in a bad way, it said that they had a face cloth, like a burial cloth, so that would have gone on the face.
Yeah.
Then, like I said, they had another piece of material that they lowered him down with, and then they had this linen sheet, which Jesus was laid. They would lay the one part down
At the tomb.
right, so say it's one long piece, Jesus was laid inside, and then they was laying it across over.
I'm really sorry, I don't
No,
interrupt
go
you,
on.
but I don't want to miss this bit as well. So
Go on.
the head cloth or face cloth was basically so that people wouldn't have to look on
Yes.
death when they was carrying them down.
Oh, I did, and see how
Yeah,
bad
so they
their
had that
face
one
was.
bit.
Did
Yeah,
I leave that bit out?
yeah, when you said about getting them off the cross as well, I was
yeah.
thinking
So I was
the
like,
head
yes,
face
because
cloth bit,
this
but
was
go
the
on.
face cloth. The next
Yeah.
bit, they would have put it so that people wouldn't be so mortified over, you know. I remember they said Jesus' face is like unrecognisable.
Yeah.
So
And obviously the full shroud wouldn't be done until they laid them to rest.
Was that
right,
like a Jewish tradition then, was it? Or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah.
To kind of shield, to shield
So-
them from death.
Hmm?
To shield their eyes from death. Or...
Yeah, just from seeing if someone looks really bad. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen a dead body or seen someone dead.
Especially if they've been tortured, they've been punched and
Imagine.
marks and scars.
Yes.
Unrecognisable.
Yeah.
Even that
Yeah.
word alone just tells you the extent of
How
the
bad
injuries
it
he
is, yeah.
suffered. To
Yeah.
not actually see someone and not recognise what they look like.
Didn't
Yeah.
look like a man. Didn't even look like a man.
Yeah.
You know, so it was
Yeah.
really, really bad.
Jeez.
So you had wrapped up, folded up, the linen cloths that Jesus had been wrapped in. And you also had, like I say, the other fabric that lowered him down, and this piece that was on his face, which they said was just folded neatly to the side as well. But what if I was to tell you that I know where those linen sheets are and bits? They're upstairs. I'll try and know that.
That'd be great,
Go
wouldn't it?
and get 'em. No, but I actually do.
We do know.
I actually do. I know, imagine that. I went, ta-da.
Oh my
Not the one in Italy, right? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you
No.
know?
I
So,
do my homework.
Oh my goodness.
The Shroud of Turin.
right,
Yeah.
the Shroud of
Right
Turin
down. I love doing this when I go home.
is like, this is
Yeah. Oh, you
so,
got honestly.
so
We don't
amazing.
sleep
So
Right, right,
is that actually real then? Shroud?
No, it
As
turns
in-
out-
And I know they have it there, but that's
Yes.
actually Jesus's.
Well,
Listen,
well,
right, so
because there's been all different things in it,
yeah.
turn of events. But go on,
So-
yeah, she's gonna hopefully reveal that
it
to you.
first appeared on the scene in the 14th century. It was 13 something or another, like early part, when a knight who had been on one of his crusades appeared with it, and he set it up in a church in France, and he was showing everyone that this is Jesus's shroud, his burial cloth.
Yeah.
So then people would come and see it, and then when he passed away, his granddaughter then gave it to a nunnery, and then the nuns, it moved to another church called the House of Savoy. She gave it to, that's it, and then it was called the House of the Shroud, something like that. So, and then a fire happened, right, but they rescued the shroud, but the metal frame that it was in, it just all burnt around the edge, right? Because I've got some pictures to show you all after. So
It's a very cool attraction.
The-
I like it.
the image, so they still had the fabric,
Yeah.
right? And then the nuns in the Middle Ages, so it would have been 1334, that was it. They then repaired, there was holes and different bits in it, and they repaired it with their own fabrics. But I'm going to get on to the actual...
Invisible mending they done.
Yeah, they
You'd
done
say
this
about
invisible mending.
end-to-end stitching, which is end-to-end. Don't ask me how they put it together.
I
But
don't-
end-to-end
Yeah,
So it was
fabrics
torn, the fabric.
burnt.
there were some holes in it from the fire,
Oh, gotcha.
right? But it was all round the edge. So anyway, they ended up giving it to the church, St John's Church, or is it St Peter's in Turin. This is how it's got to Turin. And years later, there was a photographer, so he put up the fabric, the shroud, and he takes a photograph, right, of the shroud, and then all of a sudden there's like a 3D, a negative, right, so it's come out in the negative,
But they didn't
right,
have that before.
right, so listen to
They
this,
didn't have photography
right,
before.
That didn't exist,
Yeah.
exist before. No.
Didn't have photography
Right.
before.
I thought that was there the whole time.
right,
No,
right,
man.
no, right, so then
They realised it was a
this
negative.
guy
Wow.
takes a photograph, with the black box back in the day, and then all of a sudden you've got this 3D image of a man, right, on the linen cloth, and imagine it's laid out. So because it was, like I said, like laying it long, we lay,
On it.
say, Jesus there, and then this bit now comes over like an envelope,
Yeah.
right? So you've got the front and the back of a man, right, who is covered in lacerations for someone who has been crucified. This particular man, his hands are like this. You're going to see the pictures after. What I found...
Honestly, this is the best. We've been so excited about
Yeah,
this.
so
It's
excited,
good.
and I want to do it justice because I've had loads going on, and obviously it's been my birthday, so I've been out and about and not been able to, you know, because it's so
Between
much
us,
to
we'll
remember,
remember.
yeah. So, and what was interesting, Marvin, is, and they did back up Jesus's feet. I really believe this is Jesus. The nails were actually in his feet, I think, there.
Still attached flip.
Where they said, but they did say it was different in different
Exactly,
regions.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we
Yeah,
said
yeah.
it must be different in different regions,
Yeah, of
and we
course.
see before that there was, so if someone was
On the side.
crucified, yeah, they'd put the legs around the bottom and then gone through like that with nails,
Yeah.
so that they were stuck in the ankle. So what they also found in the photograph was, it wasn't a crown, it was thorns. It wasn't a twisted crown of thorns, like made into a
everyone thought.
crown, like they've said, but it was the local, it was called, oh, what's it called? I've got it in my notes, I'll come back to it. But basically, this plant with the thorns, this bush,
Flowers. wasn't
and
it?
they would, yeah, with flowers in, they cut around, and then so they dug it on his head like
a clump, wasn't
like,
it?
yeah,
More
like a
clump.
cap. Then, I mean, we've got to go even deeper. Like, you are not gonna believe
Oh,
what
honestly.
is like, and so, like we say, we'll send you the videos that we learnt it from as well. He's got, and the blood on it, on the shroud, is bright red, which is called Billy. It goes into a state of something called bilirubin, because when someone has been highly traumatized and tortured and that, the blood is bright red, and it stayed bright red. It's not changed any colour, like it's not gone to like brown or anything like that.
Decayed or anything, you know.
No, and because of someone being so traumatized, right? Like it is just, and then also when they're then looking, there's coins on his eyes, right?
Like they do with the Greeks.
Right. Well, actually, it's the coins of Tiberius, the Roman coins, and you can see
The
they've
actual
got it.
stamp
You
of
can
it.
see
Yeah.
the
Oh my.
right.
Honestly.
Yes.
No, honestly.
Right.
No,
On
it's,
the
you
eyes,
wait,
right?
honestly. It's unreal.
Then they said they could see, and they read that
Sit
there is
still.
a necklace that you could see that he's got on, and on it
In
it's-
Hebrew.
in Hebrew it says lamb.
But listen to this. I'm going to tell
Right?
this bit.
This is like just
That now you might say, well, hang on a second. Didn't the Roman soldiers cast lots? They took his clothing. They took everything.
yeah.
Well, it wasn't seen as anything of any value to them
The
because it was
necklace.
Hebrew.
Yeah,
We don't want that's Hebrew. That's no
makes
good to
sense.
us.
Yeah.
But it said lamb. Yeah.
Oh.
Go on, because I've
right. So
But that was
Then-
his necklace. They didn't put it on him or anything.
no.
no. It was on the dead body.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, of Jesus
Wow.
Yeah.
on the shroud.
Right. And so they said that they can even see the teflon. So I don't know if Joseph and Nicodemus put this on after, or if he was crucified with this on. But you can see the phylacteries, is that how I say it? Yeah, the phylacteries, you know, and they wrapped
The leather
the
strap
leather
thing, yeah.
straps going all the way around. Jesus, and then you have the scriptures worn in the little boxes.
Oh yes, I know. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the body's got one of those on. Then there is even,
I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically he had a snakeskin python belt on, Yeah. So you know they said that they believed, oh, you know, it was naked. Normally they was naked. He wasn't. He had a python
right, the
snake
naked.
belt with
Like
a.
he was hanging on the cross.
Yeah. So he wasn't actually completely. He was more or less,
Just
but
on that-
except for
yeah.
this and this cover he had, it went to about the knees. It was kind of like shorts type of thing, you know,
Like-
but
like
they had
a
a belt on
tunic.
it. I don't-
A bit like, you know,
it wasn't
the
called a
Egyptian,
tunic. It was a funny
no,
name.
you know the
Like-
Egyptian skirts, like what Joseph would have worn, and the
Yeah,
Egyptians.
Like the tunic things that are
Yeah,
dressed with the
yeah.
belt around the waist.
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
just that half bit. So
That
this
was all
figure
up on the
has
children, on the
this
shroud.
on, and with a snakeskin belt, and there's so much blood that they said that the belt is like the blood is just
Honestly,
congealed
wait, it
all
gets better.
around.
It gets better.
So
It gets better.
yeah, right. So then
Wait, this is the
And
best
they're
bit's
like-
coming.
there's no technology or anything today that they can find that can like work out how. Right. So on the fabric, they like, because there's been like, oh, it's medieval, it's a fake, someone's painted the picture on. But if it had been painted on, first of all,
You
they said,
skipped a bit, right?
right, hang on, let me just say this. But when the way you see the image, you have to be about 6 feet back from the image to actually see it, apart from obviously when you take a photograph. So you couldn't go and paint a picture on it. You couldn't paint that on there anyway.
Yeah.
Also, going, you
Don't
said,
skip from that bit.
No.
Because just staying on that bit. Not just that. What they're saying is, if it would have been any type of paint, including blood, by the way, there was blood and everything on it. Yeah, they said that it would actually go through to the fabric.
yeah.
Through to, what do they call it, the cotton or whatever.
The
you
cotton
know?
material.
Yeah, it went through to it, and it wasn't. This is on the surface. Yeah, and they said that
Couldn't have been painted.
you couldn't have painted it,
No,
but
because it would have bled with the paint as well.
it
It
would
would
have
have
bled
gone all the
through.
way through.
bled through. But the bit you missed though was
Hang on. So was this blood on his clothes or the linen cloth?
on the cloth.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, on the cloth. So the bit that Zoe missed was that. So basically, you got this is probably you know about it. Yeah, it's a fake. Yeah, I've heard about that. Everyone said it's a fake because what happened was I can't remember I've only just briefly
Well,
watched
we're
it with
chatting,
Zoe
I'm
while
gonna
she's been
say-
studying it.
gonna
But basically,
pass around.
what they actually done
Well,
was
printer's
that-
cutting off heads.
what they actually
Sorry.
done was they tested it. They took a little piece of the fabric and tested it, and they went, "Nah, it's a fake." It was like however many years old, and then then it wasn't 2 years later. The guy, and I only briefly watched this. I haven't studied it like pastors over. Years later, there was a guy that was in charge or was part of the team
AI's
in studying
image,
it.
what- as-
Babe,
Right.
1 second, babe.
Right, go
Just
on.
because you put me off what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, was they part of a guy who was part of the team. First of all, it's a fake. It's been wrote off as a fake. It's gone all around the world. Everyone's saying it's a fake.
Yeah.
This woman gets with one of the guys, ends up
Yes.
marrying him and everything. Yeah, but it turns out she's a fabric expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he shows her this thing and says, "Oh yeah, this is what it was, and you know we tested it. Apparently they reckon it's a fake." But she knew from her expertise, it was
Yeah.
proper god-like, you know, that there was a type of weave that they would do, which it would be end-to-end fabric. Don't ask me how
Yes.
they've done it, and it's basically what they call it. But basically invisible mending. Invisible
Okay.
mending.
Yeah, so it's not noticeable.
You
No
couldn't
stitching.
see it.
No
But
stitching.
then, so because of that one woman coming there, they put 2 and 2 together and realised that when it got tested, they tested it from the repair where it got burnt,
Yes.
and not from the because they
Yes.
thought, listen, that's already
Not
a bit
from-
damaged over that, so let's
Yeah.
take it from that
Yes.
side and not the main
So-
bit. We don't want to damage it.
That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
they
yeah.
said it was a medieval fake, right? Because
Because
it
it
was
probably been
right. It was
repaired
medieval.
500 years ago.
Medieval
Because-
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right. And so
there's still more though. There's
that
still
image
more.
of Jesus was how he was with all the lacerations, and then that was him how he would have been when
That's
he
the
would have had
position.
rigor mortis. The other image there is
On the cross, bearing in mind his legs would have been
Kev,
instead would have
AI.
been forward.
Yeah.
Kev, I would show you that AI created that of Jesus from that image. Right? That's
This-
got on the internet that's
Yeah.
the AI
Wow.
that he's created
See
that,
it?
That's
right?
the image.
So I couldn't get the better pictures because when we watch it on the telly, you'll see it so much clearer. But that's how Jesus would have been laying, and how the rigor mortis kicked in because his head would have been slightly down, being on the cross. So, and you start going
His
into
legs would have been bent.
yeah,
away.
and so that's exactly what he was like with the rigor
On the cross.
mortis. Yeah.
His body froze or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, within an hour you start going into rigor mortis from death. You know?
Yeah. I did have more printed out. I think they were still printing. I haven't brought the rest down. So listen to this. Then we found out the woman who is another expert with the cotton said that the linen comes from a town just outside Jerusalem, and because of this particular weave, and it was in the 1st century, right? And then, what do I say when someone is knows the botanical?
Botanical gardens, as in
But
flowers.
you know someone, but they know how to. Basically, is a plant expert.
Botanist.
Yeah,
That's
a
it.
botanist,
Botanist. Right. So, listen to this.
Yeah,
On the body, also they see flowers from the area, from the local area, and they've done
identified it as
right, and they have done the what's it called? Got the samples, the pollen. Only these flowers, these
From the
particular,
linen.
can be found, and that's the
Jerusalem.
flowers on
All
the
this is in
linen,
the linen.
from where they've covered his body in flowers, right? Can only be found in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Right? And then, what was it? All the dirt. There's dirt on his face, dirt on his feet, dirt on his knees. You know, and then it goes into depths with other things I've watched about. The bruising on his shoulders where he's carried the cross, all sorts.
Yeah.
But the dirt on his feet is this particular dust and limestone stone, which can again only be found in Jerusalem. And they're saying about as well that there was a trauma that's obviously maybe it's when he dropped the cross, so he's bashed his face more. Obviously we know it was just, but it's all from Jerusalem. And to me, when I've watched and listened, who else can it be? And they said this is the
another bit of
only shroud
information.
that has ever been found with a photographic image on.
Before you go to the main
Right, I
bit,
know, because this
before
is
you go to the main bit, which is there's something that's really
Yeah,
amazing
sorry.
at the end, right? Which
I've
I'm not
seen
going to.
that before. That is the actual
Yeah,
face
Right.
painted on the shroud. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now the other bit of evidence says so many. It's been proved on so many levels that so basically the guy says any of you have ever watched CSI or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't watch all that stuff, but
CSA.
you've watched like them sort of things, but you used to like it. Anyway, right? Said that he knows that the blood splashes are like a fingerprint or a thumbprint. Yeah, blood splashes. Yeah, it's like it can be identified to a certain scene. So if this blood splashes on someone's clothing, and it's also they can say prove that them blood splashes, besides the type of blood and all the rest of it, would be identified. Yeah, the same blood splashes is what's at the scene. It's like a fingerprint. It's that close. So when you take the face covering, because bear in mind these was in two different countries. One was in Spain and the other one was in.
Yes, the
What
face
was
covering.
the face
face
covering.
covering.
Face cloth was
And then the
found in
shroud.
Spain. Yes.
Two different countries.
And they've got them together. Then they found it's exactly the same,
Same
blood.
blood
Oh
splashes.
my God.
Right?
On the head alone, I think it was something like, was it 144, 164, something like that? Separate lacerations just on the head alone.
Yes.
Like certain little blood spots, 164 different blood spots.
And do you know what else I found out? So we had big time, obviously the pollen and everything from the flowers, all Jerusalem. But from the journey from how it's travelled through Iraq and through to Greece and Turkey. So you have bits of pollen from where it's actually travelled through, and then it's been to France, and then obviously ended up in Italy. So Yeah,
Wow.
so it's even been like ways with showing you which way it's actually gone.
Google Maps.
Right, yeah. Then this is the best part.
Oh, there's more.
No,
So
the best part's coming.
right, so
Coming.
now the body is saying the stone's been rolled across. Jesus is in the tomb. We know he's dead. And there's no way, like we said last week, he wasn't in a coma, he was dead.
Proved
he was
dead.
dead. Proper dead.
Like experts.
And we
on
see,
killing.
had rigor mortis, he was gone. So the image is also shows that someone's moving in it, right? And they believe the only way
Because there's more than one
where
picture.
the
it's
light
like a
come from
like
is from some sort of radiation, a beam of light.
brilliant light.
A brilliant light has come from the body, and it is caused to make a lot of photograph and it's gone into like a 3D mode because Jesus
moving.
Starting to come back to life.
because the big light has resurrected in the dunamis power
The head's-
that rose
the head's
Jesus from the
got-
dead. So
The belt's
got like
moved.
prints everywhere.
He's got
Yeah.
a bit belt as well, hasn't he? You know, we said about the
Yeah.
belt with a buckle and a snakeskin thing. There's more than one. There's several different
Copies of the
slightly
as it's
moving.
moving. Yeah.
Yes.
Come on.
yeah,
Come on.
yes, it is.
There's another. I've
Like-
got to tell this
No,
bit.
go
So
on.
I think
No,
you've,
I
I
want
think
you
you've
to.
missed it,
I-
and this is
no,
a really
no,
important
I
bit.
want you to because
It's
so much-
impossible.
Yes.
Impossible.
No one's got the technology
to
now to
create
do this.
that. And number one, linen isn't photographic.
No.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
it's not photographic. You
Yeah.
could have done other materials that you could have said, okay, they can do an image, put a negative on certain fabrics, but you can't put it on linen. It's not a fabric that you can do that. So even it's impossible. There's no technology on this earth today that could create that. In any way, not even remotely. Not even doing the negative. Never mind all the
Yeah,
blood
they
and
haven't
everything
got
else.
the technology to do it now, and this is now.
Wow.
Like so,
That's insane.
Crazy.
it is insane. And I have watched so many different things, and I remember when I first watched it quite a few months ago, I was just absolutely blown away. And to me, I'm like, there is just no other explanation. For me, this is Jesus. And why would God would purposely do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is another amazing miracle. This is something that is
Oh goodness.
unbelievable.
Powerful, isn't it?
Is it still there? Is it still there?
Yeah, and
That's
I,
it.
we can
This
go
is
and
a
see
big
Can you
it.
visit it?
The fact
Yeah,
there's several
now and
prints of the
Yeah,
actual
something.
belt buckle and the head moving in that shroud, you couldn't even have tried to fake that if you could, because
Impossible.
there's no way you can grab it and just start rolling it. I mean, to try to fake
Impossible.
And the coins on his
There's
sides,
another bit as
like-
well.
Yeah,
That
go
they
on.
believed that
'Cause
the
we
body
were-
was levitating
Yes.
as well.
The body then levitated.
They believed it was levitating, a certain distance off the ground.
Why though?
I don't know.
But it must be as he's being risen.
But as in, how can they prove that on the?
I can't remember how they got to the result
I
of
can't
that.
I know,
That's
but
one.
like you'll look at everything.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
send you.
But you'll be able to watch, and
I'm
then,
not sure. I'm not sure, but this is one of the things that's been mentioned. And the other thing they said is, obviously, we know that Jesus can walk through walls.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So they're saying that potentially he could have just came through the fabric.
that's what they're saying. They believe he's come through the fabric.
Oh.
That's it.
So maybe
Yes.
obviously the fabric.
Oh, that's why he rose.
That's
Yeah,
it.
why he
he come
levitated.
through the
Out of the
fabric.
fabric.
Like,
Because obviously when he went to go see the 12 disciples, he just appeared
Walk
in the
through the
house,
walls.
right?
I
They
love
walked through the
that.
walls,
They
didn't
were
it say?
terrified, wasn't they? And then he just walked through the walls.
Powerful. I'm pretty pleased you come there. It's a powerful teaching, isn't it?
That's incredible.
It's so.
Like,
I said.
honestly, every time I come here, I think, right, next week
You can't.
maybe
yeah.
just be not being normal, but just a bit of prayer, a bit of this and that. And I'm like, it won't be. There's going to be something
Why
else.
not?
We've not been very well,
Really?
and even today we was like, and we both looked at each other, was like, maybe we shouldn't go. And then we both looked at each other, was like,
We have
can't
to
miss
go.
it.
Yeah.
We literally can't miss it. I literally cannot miss it.
Alice, she said to the Lord, I have to go. So you need to speak to her, but she has to go.
Yeah, and we just pray for you all to be healed anyway.
Yeah,
Amen.
exactly.
So yeah, we don't do the Logie Randy
No.
anyway,
Do you know,
do we?
it come on. So if I could tell you,
Yesterday was fine. We were fine yesterday.
yeah, we don't give no power, no authority, nothing over Satan. He's a nobody, and we know that.
100%.
But even yesterday, our first day at university was so powerful.
Incredible, yeah.
But there was all sorts of madness going on yesterday after madness to the point
Oh,
that we was
what
like,
you mean? What,
yeah,
there or
after.
what,
Yeah,
in
between
college
us.
or
After.
when
Between
you
us,
st-
honestly.
that's because Yeah.
And then last night we both looked at each other.
Oh, what?
Shall I stop it or shall I continue?
Oh yeah,
Is there
stop
any
it
more?
for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then last
Yeah.
night